Hello friends, welcome back to another Dinkum build. This time we're building a treehouse on Sunny Ann's Island. If you haven't watched our prototype build, I'm going to link it in the little title card up in the top right corner and also in the description below. This whole idea came about when we were working on her Bronx Zoo replica, and there's a section that's called the treetops, and we got to talking about using these big gumwood trees in the game as like the basis for a treehouse. And that's what spawned this idea. We did the prototype on my island to kind of work out kinks, and then came over here to build something a little bit more, I think, along the lines of what we were hoping to do. And she wanted to do the big tree in the middle of her treehouse and then put trees around it, which I absolutely loved. And it also makes this whole treehouse thing on her island look a little different, and, you know, gives all these little builds a slightly different look. So here we are, doing the dirt printing thing as we are wont to do in all of our builds. But I'm not going to bore you too much with this. We'll speed through most of this section and move on to other things. Obviously we're kind of trying to figure out dimensions and sizing and what's going to work best. And, when you got two people doing it, it goes pretty quickly. We are at max height in the game. 11 tiles high. Obviously, if you're going to do I just buried her. I just buried her under the dirt. Whoops. If you're going to go, build a treehouse, you want it to be up in the trees. So here we are at the max height in the game currently allowed. And, adding more to it as things go on. If you want to see more of Sunny's Island, because she picked this spot that's between the zoo and her hanging gardens. You should go check out Jersey Games' tour of her island. In fact, I will link that up in the little right-hand corner and as well as in the description, because you really should go and see all the really cool things on her island. This is why she's one of my building partners, because she's so great. We built the prototype to where the stairs were just right in front along the side. We knew that we were building this in the middle of like a body of water, so we were going to have to connect it somehow to the mainland, and this is us doing that. We used the forbidden bridging. We are playing in creative mode, using dev commands and what have you. And this bridging, which we use quite a bit, it's one of Sunny's favorite things, has some issues. So just be aware of that when you go to use it if you are playing in creative mode, because it can be a little persnickety and a little tricky to use. It'll sometimes kind of wig out on you, but usually the person whose island it is, whose island you're playing on, it'll look normal to them, but it'll look really bugged out for other people. Well, this entire thing looks completely normal from my perspective because we're on Sunny's Island and I'm recording it. And so it looks good. So we were like, woohoo, fingers crossed. Let's hope it stays that way. I hope eventually James brings the bridge to the game, for real. But he said, I've seen him in interviews say that it's problematic and he's trying to figure out why it's not working. So it may never come to the game, which is a shame because it's a really great item. But like he said, there's been some issues in it with multiplayer. But we did find out from Offending Commit's interview with him that these big, giant gumwood trees are coming to the game legitimately. So that's very exciting news. I know a lot of people will be happy to hear that play the more vanilla way. And so we're excited. We decided to cut out the corners and place some trees in the corners as well. When we did the prototype, we learned all the things not to do when it came to the tree placement. And so this time around, we're like, okay, let's do this and this and this, and this will look a lot better. You may see some trees kind of pop up randomly out of nowhere. Sunny is down there on ground level. She is placing trees to kind of hide the structure we have currently built, so that it looks more natural from afar. And, once you get down out of the treehouse, it'll look a little less building-like and more, nature, something in nature has happened. So while she's doing that, because when you're doing place item commands using the dev code, I was up top on the treehouse, decorating and doing things that I could do as a secondary player, because you can only do the place item thing if it is your island. If you're playing on somebody else's island, you can't access that. It's a island owner thing only. So she spends a lot of time down on the ground level, doing the place item with all the different trees to help make that look more natural. And I'm up here decorating. Now, she came up to give her opinion because we were trying to decide which fencing should we use, because safety. And I think we really loved both of these options, the crude fencing and the vine fencing. And I think overall we ended up going with the vine fence for the majority of the floor space, and then decided to use the crude fencing for the little entryway area, just to kind of break things up a little bit. Here we're trying to hide this hole that happens with these big gumwood tree placements. It takes up 4 squares, 4 tiles in the game, and you can't fill in one of them. So we were trying to kind of minimize that look. And eventually we ended up going with flower boxes, as you see, because that's more Sunny's aesthetic, and I actually like this better. It looks more natural. It looks like something for real, like it would actually be there. And yeah, here I am. I was given the go-ahead to start decorating while she was down doing the place item command. And she said, I just want rattan furniture. Do what you want. So I did. I've kind of gotten into this philosophy lately where I just, I put down a lot of things and then I just start subtracting, because that tends to be, I can kind of see a little bit better when everything is out versus trying to visualize, well, what do I want? And so I just kind of slap a lot of things down in a lot of different places and go from there. And some of this stuff you'll see move eventually when Sunny comes up to give her seal of approval, and some of the other things do stay where I put them. Overall, I think it turned out fairly well. In my prototype build, we used the vine walls and different things to kind of create division in the space. But that wasn't really feasible here, given the space limitations that we kind of gave ourselves, and also trying to do something different and new. So just trying to figure out a way to kind of create barriers between the different spaces. Again, I'm just throwing things down. This is a treehouse, right? We're all like Swiss Family Robinson Crusoe up here, So what would a treehouse look like? Eventually, I would love to do another one where we did different levels that you had to use bridging or stairs to get to. So that would be fun. You start out small and you kind of keep going and going and getting bigger and bigger. And this is why I love this game. I feel like you can just do very similar builds, but change them up to where they almost look like a completely different thing in, the second time around. So we've got a lot of ideas for possible future builds for a treehouse with multiple levels. I would love to have a suspension bridge. I'm sure I'm not the only one. That would be amazing if we could get a suspension bridge, because that would be perfect for something like this. And I feel like Australia is the perfect location for a treehouse house, So yeah, here, just again, placing items to and fro. An umbrella and a towel don't really make a lot of sense. But this is a fantasy build, so it doesn't really have to. I noticed as it started to get darker, I was like, oh, we need light up here. It's going to be kind of dark at night if we don't. Realistically, probably would be dark in real life, but, this is Dinkum, so it doesn't have to be real life. So I decided to place some lamps in the corners to kind of minimize how much they stood out, but also add enough ambient light to the surrounding area that it illuminated things once it got dark enough. I like to inset all of the steps. I personally do not like how they look when they're not kind of inset like that and hidden. The rough edges are hidden. It's a thing for me. Doesn't mean that anybody else has to do it, but I just think it looks more polished this way. And so I was like, I'm going to make the executive decision, put these back a little bit more. And here I am just kind of reconfiguring some things, making it look a little... there was some stuff that wasn't working about the other design, and, you got to tweak as you go along. I really wanted to use that archway, but just was not looking right. It just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, and you can't put it over the stairs, because nothing can be underneath it. So here I'm experimenting with different seating arrangements and trying to make this area, this is where you'd come in, maybe take off your shoes, if you're wearing shoes, I don't know. I'm down here printing some dirt for Sunny so she can have different height to place these trees on as she's putting them out, to help cover up the building. And, just filling in a few blank areas. I also decided to stop for a second, supervise, and show you guys what Sunny was doing that entire time. I was up top placing all the furniture. She was standing down there placing trees so that we could kind of hide the building a little bit. And I'm just filling some things in with some river reed grass seed and some bushes. The market stall was not working, and we were discussing here, and we decided to kind of change up the kitchen area a little bit. And I'm glad Sunny suggested it, because I wasn't loving it, but I wasn't sure, should we put out actual kitchen countertops? This is a treehouse, would that be a thing? So here we are, kind of just tweaking this area a little and adding a few things here and there that weren't there before. Fun times. There's apparently an Airbnb company here in the state of Texas, out in the hill country, where you can actually rent like tree houses. I mean, they're enclosed. There's heating and air conditioning and things like that, but they're not open air like this. But that would be interesting. I'd be curious to stay in a place like that. What kid did not want a treehouse growing up, right? Like, I think we all did. That was like the thing. All the movies from the 60s, 70s, it seemed like all these kids had tree houses in their backyard, and that's where everybody hung out, So, do you think this is like an adult, this is the adult level treehouse. But we had a great time building this and putting this together and making this happen. It was great that we did the whole prototype build first, so we kind of worked out some kinks, and it was a lot quicker. This was a project that we did basically in a day of playing together, like not like a full day, but like a few hours, just taking a break from all the other games we've been playing to go back to Dinkum, because Dinkum is home. And here we're just doing our final walkthroughs and flyovers so you guys kind of see it from all angles. Be sure to hit that like button and leave a comment down below of what you thought. Be sure to subscribe. I'd love to have you around. Also, in the description, there should be some links to all of my social media accounts, my merch store, and coming soon, we'll hopefully have a Patreon. So you guys keep a lookout for that. It's really pretty at night, don't you think? Maybe we should franchise this as well as the ice cream parlor. I'm down. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. As per usual, thank you all for being here, for watching. Love to have you along on the journey. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.